affect his performance out on track. Now we are seeing a kart that's not going there just in the background while the grid's on the screen. It's the 234 that has not got going. And that is Freddie Lloyd, so that's a big one. Freddie Lloyd, the junior champion from last year, not able to get going. So we'll go through the grid quickly and let's find out who's going to be starting where. Marius Barryberg starts this one on pole position after 4 wins yesterday. He has Danny Carinini alongside. Alexander Bondarev and Adrian Martinez, they go from row 2 with Eloy Gonzalez and Dmitry Matviev on brilliant results. 4 race wins, a second. His worst results from Marius Barryberg, you can see there in the 259, is a P4. He's hoping that he can get away with some good results in this one. Danny Carinini, though, starts alongside. You can see him there in the 246 with the red helmet, the blue and yellow liveried kart as well on the right-hand side of your screen. Only one qualifying heat yesterday as he qualified 14th. Let's go racing. It's green lights out and in we go towards turn number 1. Good start again from the inside row, but watch Danny Carinini right the way on the outside, and there's 3 karts off in the background there. That's not gone well at all. And who is that that's gone off there? Well, right, that's the 230 that's gone off. That was about in the midfield. That's Johan Aluja, and I suspect he was probably caught there with Conor Grant and Mattis Maschouts as well. Conor Grant was one of them, and it would look like it was Noah Montero, the other driver. So thankfully they all get going again, but that's certainly not the start. Oh no, wait, they don't all get going again. One driver hasn't got going again, and that's Conor Grant. He is out of this race. The 292 Irish driver from Victory Lane Karting is out. Back at the front here, as we're still seeing battles here, as there down the outside, that was Dmitry Matviev getting squeezed to the outside there with a big pack going through, and Freddie Lloyd is under investigation. Oh, Freddie, I hope you didn't overtake after that red line to try and get a good position, but we don't know about that. But let's see. Across the line they go. Andrea Martinez here going wheel to wheel with Marius Barryberg. In towards turn number 1 they go, and it is a nice little overtake. Marius Barryberg down in towards P3, and Danny Carinini is able to break away here. I'll stress, the only driver within the top 6 rows of this starting grid with new tyres was Danny Carinini, who's now currently leading the way. He had a brand new set of tyres on the left-hand side of that kart, and that will be severely helping him out. Oh, and that's a lot of damage there to the 254 on your screens there. Now, what's happened there? The 254 being Sem van der Heijden, and I think that's Meliangelo that's there in the 218. So Meliangelo, who started this race right at the back of the grid, now out. And for Sem van der Heijden, who started this race at P28 in the 14th row, they have come together. That's a lot of damage to that kart.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed with how their race has ended. End of lap number 2. Here comes down the inside Lewis Bird on Barryberg through and into, that'll be 4th place for the Croc Promotions pilot. He's done a lot of overtaking this week, has Lewis Bird. His driver had that supreme start yesterday from P7 and went into the lead by the end of turn 1, so we know he's got the moves out there on circuit. There's a lot of this race to go.
Yeah, it certainly is. Right, well, as we keep an eye on these battles there, again, Bondarev getting through, having a good battle there with some of the other drivers. See, he's just in front of Marius Barryberg there. Barryberg not having the result he would have wanted on this one so far. Now, granted, he's running on old tyres here as well as a lot of other drivers around him. And they're all used tyres that they've got. It was literally only Danny Carinini with the fresh set in the front, and then the only other person was Kyuho Lee, also with a brand new set of tyres on the left-hand side of his kart. And Kyuho Lee currently sitting a little further down the order, actually. Where is Kyuho Lee? I can't even see him on my screen.
15th.
15th, yes, there he is. So, yeah, that's not the result he would have wanted. But there, the update on your screen. New boots on the left-hand side for Carinini.
Pollier, new fastest lap for the Frenchman, 56.388, as Lewis Bird trying to go through, and he has got through past Eloy Gonzalez. We're going to have a look at a replay here. This is going to be Carinini down the inside of Barryberg, and textbook move there into the chicane. That gave him the lead of this race.
And Andrea Martinez as well, trying to take advantage of that one to go down the inside. He did manage to take it, and in fact, Marius Barryberg there just sending it, right, go on then, in you go. I'm not going to fight that one too hard. Because again, Marius Barryberg is just looking for a good result here. He doesn't want to end up in 36th place, you know. I think he will settle for a top 10 here for Marius Barryberg. He will make the final, and he will make the final in a good spot still.
And we must remember back to yesterday, one of the later races, where he fell back a few positions, but came back strong.
Yeah.
You'll take confidence from that. He was telling me in the paddock about, just couldn't get the tyres on in those conditions. So He'll back himself to move back through this order, say with so many laps still remaining. New fastest lap of the race, Andy Rattel, 56.276 is back through past Lewis Bird goes Eloy Gonzalez and Alexander Bondarev in the 226, the Prema Racing entrant there back through. So Bird down to 5th place.
Indeed, back to the inside though, goes wheel to wheel with Bondarev, and he has to concede it, does Bondarev, and Bird goes back into 4th place now and gains that extra position. Will now go on the charge towards Eloy Gonzalez, who has got a bit of clean air here, as back to the inside now as well. Here comes Malo Bollier to the inside of Bondarev. Now Bondarev is down now into P6. Ralph Thardin is there to play as well. He's there in P7. But eyes on this Bondarev and Bollier battle. Superheats as well, keeping an eye on the intermediate classification. McLaughlin, yes, at this moment is securing his pole position start. No drama. Marcus Luzio in his position in that race secures 2nd place. But Marius Barryberg, now he could potentially take a front row seat here if he can gain some more positions. But right now, I would say I'd leave it for Marius Barryberg. He's there in P9. Right now, he would be on the inside row on the second round of the grid for the final. That's probably a better spot to be than in 2nd place.
Yeah, and he's got experience from going from that inside so far this weekend. Raul Zanzarin is on the move again. Oh, what a sterling effort this has been from Zanzarin. We must remember back to Friday. It didn't happen for him in qualifying. He's been having to overtake 20, 22 drivers every single race. As down the inside goes Lewis Bird for a move on Gonzalez. That's Bird through and into 3rd place. Another great move from the Briton there. Just go back to Zanzarin. 13 places in this race. He's up to P6. He's still not going to have the best of grid positions for the finals. And down the inside goes Gonzalez on Bird. Bird is on the curb, and Bollier is going to be coming through now. And right on the scene is Zanzarin. He's up to 5th place now. And now warning flag for Meliangelo, but actually no, that's not too important in this race because the 218 is already off the road in this one. That's not going to affect the front, but great opportunism there from Gonzalez down the inside. Lewis Bird has got to work himself back up this order again.
Yeah, he certainly have. Hugo Mañas also trying to get involved in that one. There's a huge dive down the inside there for the 307. And for Thantharin on Gonzalez, that is how you do it. Now Bollier is going defensive from Bondarev, and Lewis Bird following as well. That's bringing Matviev into play as well as Hugo Mañas. Louis Johnson-Cool is right there. Marius Barryberg has dropped all the way down to 11th now. That puts him now P4 in the intermediate classification, so he does need to gain 1 or 2 here. And guess what? He's doing exactly that. Obviously, he can hear me.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask the question, what do we think Raul Zanzarin could do in the final? Because this is him overtaking again, but he's overtaking drivers who've been at the front the whole weekend. It seems that it's just coming with ease. If he's doing it here in this superheat, could he do it again in the final?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is helping himself out with gaining these positions. He's losing points to his name, which means he'll get higher positions up in the final. But, of course, in that final, everyone has a new set of tyres. So then everyone's on the sort of same playing field here. This is interesting. Back at the front, are we seeing something very similar to what we saw in the last race here? Carinini and Musienes there this time around instead of McLaughlin and Ramekers as they side together and pull away from the rest of the field. Well, I tell you this, they've gained 2.2 seconds already from the rest of the field. Gonzalez and Bollier, Bird, Mañas, Johnson-Cool, Barryberg still battling. Bondarev rounds out the top 10 with that change. Barryberg is back up into 3rd, which means he's in a good spot. So he needs to try and keep it around that area, does Marius Barryberg.
And Mustinez has got another one. I'm sure there'll be people on the sidelines doing the maths, doing the calculations. Winning this race would be great, but it would move him ahead of Clément Outran in the standings and moving on to the outside of the grid. Would he prefer to be P7 on the grid on the inside row 4 or P6 outside of row 3?
Again, very interesting. If I was going to be anyone here, I would always want to be on the inside line, always, because being on the outside has got its risks. Don't get me wrong, you can still get a good start from the outside. If there's a gap, you can find your way to the inside before turn 1. Yeah, you're all good. We saw that from Marcus Luzio in the last race. He managed to get from the outside into P3. He did lose a spot, but it was fine. He didn't lose 10 spots. He only lost 1. But right now, again, it's a mental game, really. Just it's maths at 125 kilometres an hour. Can you do maths at 125 kilometres an hour?
I don't know whether I'd get around the corner if it did 125 kilometres an hour, but...
Well, I can't even do maths at 0 miles an hour, so there we go. That says a lot, doesn't it? Right, okay, let's have a look at this replay here. And okay, that's a little word there. Again, that's a hand gesture. I'm not too sure what that was. Look to the side there, a little bit left, or I don't know. But Danny Carinini and Andrea Martinez looks to be like they're working with each other to the end of this race. That's what we're seeing here. The gap's open. Well, actually, no, the gap's come down. It's less than 2 seconds, and well, Martinez has noticed that, and now he said, right, I will lead. You're not going fast enough, because Zandaren is closing in. The new gap, 1.8 seconds now. Can that gap go up a little bit more, or is Danny Carinini now under pressure? But remember, Carinini has got the fresh set of boots on the left-hand side of his car.
And he's also got help in the shape of a teammate, Eloy Gonzalez. They're running together, 0.2 of a second apart, 56.4s last time around for the two home drivers here in Spain. 56.6 for Carinini, so I can understand why Martinez has gone for that move, because he just does not want to risk falling into the clutches of the 307 or the 302. There they are, just in the back of shot, going through the chicane now.
Gap check, it was 1.7. Still 1.7, staying the same now with these two like this, so that may have just stopped the attack from Raul Zandaren for just a little bit longer. Now, as Eloy Gonzalez and Malo Bollier still right behind there, 3rd and 4th place, and 5th place as well. So again, it's an interesting game here. It's chess again, but now we're seeing interesting moments here as Eloy Gonzalez goes down the inside of Raul Zandaren and see if he can try and close that gap up now, because it is down to 1.6, so they did take a little bit out of him on that lap, but with that overtake, new sector is coming up after this corner here. It's 1.6, watch it for 3rd, 1.6. 1.6 still. So, yeah, there you go. So no change. So they got away with that overtake.
Marius Barryberg is having a repeat of what he did yesterday. He's suddenly got a bit of pace about him. Has got past Hugo Mañas for 7th place. And it's sector number 2. So it's not done yet for 2nd place on the grid. If Barryberg can find his way past Lewis Bird, which he has done as the timing updates, if he can find his way past Bollier now, this could be a change for 2nd place.
In the superheats, yes, it could be, but I suspect it doesn't want that. You want that inside line. You want that inside line. Yeah, okay, you're one position further up, but you're on the outside. I'd say stay where you are. That's my personal opinion, that is, though. But, yeah, let's see. Here's a replay. What do we see on this one? This is, right, okay, more hand gestures coming in for here. Oh, nothing's working. No, thumbs down maybe, and yeah, something's not going too well there on Danny Carinini. This is why we're seeing him drop back just a little bit here. The only thing that's keeping him in contention here is that toe, because every time he gets on the start-finish straight and the back straight, he's able to get away. But is that possibly a cut that it's slowly getting slower and slower?
I mean,
that shot, just, no.
If it's maybe, I don't know. I really don't know what Carinini was trying to communicate to the Zanchi Motorsport team there. I think it's power related, because he's holding the wheel of Martinez quite happily. We're on lap 14, penultimate lap of the race. Some big moves in this race. Since Owen has mentioned, up 15. Joseph Smith as well, up 9 for Victory Lane. Vilmos Farn as well, the Swedish driver on the KR machine, up 10 to 17th. I think that's not quite going to be enough to get through into the top 36, but well worth trying.
The only benefit that Danny Carinini has here is that Andrea Martinez does not know that he potentially might have an issue, because he's still right there on his rear bumper, but he might not have the power to get an overtake done. He might only have the power if Andrea Martinez goes defensive on this final lap, which I suspect he might do. I mean, well, you're seeing there from Danny Carinini, just keep going, don't defend. Because right now, while Eloy Gonzalez has closed in, the gap is now 7/10 of a second. And now if we see even one defensive move here from Andrea Martinez, this will mean a four-kart battle, and I reckon Danny Carinini would lose out quite substantially here. He currently sits 4th in the intermediate classifications, meaning if he finishes here in P2, he will be 4th place in the final later on today. No change here as they dive down into the inside of turn number 11. Through 12 they go. very commonplace for an overtake, but nothing this time around. Andrea Martinez just pushing that kart right to the end. But Eloy Gonzalez might have something to say about this in third place, but he's nowhere near close enough. Now we're going defensive. Martinez sends it to the inside into the final corner just to cover off any potential attack here. He's not going to have the waft out of the corner. It will be Martinez from Carinini, then Gonzalez, and Zanzarin will take P4. Malo Bollier rounds out the top 5 from Annie Rattel. Marius Barrierberg finishes in P7 from Alexander Bondarev. Lewis Bird and Hugo Mañas round out the top 10. Biggest mover on that one, 100%. Ralph van Darden, 15 places gained. That driver there is eager to get in to that final, and I think he's just done that. So that is a solid drive for Ralph van Darden, who started this one P19, and qualifying certainly didn't go his way on Friday. But for this man here, Adrian Martinez, a very good result for him, and he will secure a 6th place start on the 3rd row of the grid for the final with that spot. Finn McLaughlin secures pole position from Marcus Luzio. Marius Barrierberg just dipping back 1 position on that last lap to P7, secures a 3rd place start for the final, which puts him in a very good spot for it. The inside row, right behind the pole sitter, Finn McLaughlin. Danny Carinini will start 4th place for the final later on from Timo Ramikers, who'll be starting 5th on that inside row from Adrian Martinez. Then it will be Clement Autron and Alexander Bondarev rounds out the top 8 in the final grid later on today. But a look then at the provisional classifications at the end of that one. We talked about all the retirements from that race. Here's a look then at some of the highlights from it though, and again, initially good start at the front, but it would all kick off a little further back in the field. As you saw here, 3 karts going off. The only retirement for that one would be Connor Grant, who was not able to get going again, and there you can see his kart just grinding to a halt as the kart went on top. Looked like it was potentially the radiator hose that got pulled off there, and there was a bit of steam, I think, that kicked off, but not too sure on that one. But certainly I'm sure a full damage report will be issued to the team after that race. Rest of the race continued on, and it was fairly calm at the first opening laps. It looked like it was going to go the way of Marius Barrierberg, who gained a good lead earlier on, but those fresher tyres for Danny Carinini meant he was able to close in. Dmitry Matviev certainly had his hands full for the majority of that race. He started very high up in P6. He would finish a little further down the order. In fact, he would finish quite far down the order. He would finish in P15 for the driver of the 2-2-5. So certainly not the result he will have wanted. To the inside once more. We still saw these moves all the way throughout for Lewis Bird, just sending it to the inside of turn number 1, once after one, in towards turn number 1, this time getting through on Eloy Gonzalez. As quickly as he gained those positions, though, he would lose them as Gonzalez would go down the inside here, getting squeezed off the track there a little bit to the exit of turn 7 in towards turn 8. The communications between these two all the way to the end, Andrea Martinez and Danny Carinini. 1 lap later, those decisions would come to bite him back as Martinez would go to the inside at turn number 1 as Danny Carinini potentially had an issue with his wagon. Here down the inside, this was Raul Zanzarin getting overtaken once more from Eloy Gonzalez. Despite the best efforts from Zanzarin getting up to 3rd place, it would drop down to 4th place, but still an impressive 15 places gained throughout the race. Czech flag would come out and it would go to Adrian Martinez.